My name is Red Moon-Eagle, and you're watching Daily Devotions with Red Moon-Eagle. We are in the tide of renewal, which is between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. And I'm here a couple times a week, and we do Daily Devotionals. It's a little bit of a prayer, a little bit of something to just keep your eye on, something to think about, something to hold in your day, to give you a theme, something that you can lean into, something to be mindful of. And sometimes Astra, my animal companion here, will join us. Are you going to join me today? And this is Astra. Astra is, I can't remember what language it comes from, but it's, I think, a Norse language of some kind, meaning star. Okay. So we're going to start with the Animal Spirit Guidebook. The card that I drew today is Black Egg. Speaking from an authentic voice, the truth. The black egg contains one of life's essential treasures, the truth. Inside of it resides no confusion, excuses, small talk, noise, or lies, not even white ones. This living and breathing vessel harbors only that which rings true. When this essence is in balance, we speak slowly and clearly. We are drawn to activities like writing, reading, teaching, singing, or perhaps public speaking. Sound draws us in, books draw us in, the concept of truth itself draws us in. We start asking, Astra, no. We start asking questions like, what do I know to be true about myself? And what is true about the world? When the energy of the black egg is not yet accessed, we speak from an unsure place. We say things others want to hear, gossip, or repeat stories to justify our subpar behavior. We might even try to convince ourselves that we have no inner truth at all. The energy of the black egg hovers and waits for us to reconnect. It is available at every moment in every situation. It's the epicenter of truth, the birthplace of our voice. Okay. And today's card, Oracle, is going to be the Medicine Heart Oracle. And the card is Toe. Divine timing is always relevant, and sometimes it is the greatest contributing factor in the manifestation of our life purpose. The workings of divine timing are particularly significant. There is a stirring in the cosmic energies. A divine dispensation is destined to occur. Trust that you will sense when to move with those currents and give yourself permission to rally and rise, dancing with the direction of your life path. Seek the treasure most precious to your heart, no matter how impossible it may seem to obtain. Be motivated by divine beauty. You may not see the signs yet, but you're making excellent progress. Brightly colored mot bird, or toe, to the Mayan peoples is steeped in legend. The Mayan myth tells that the bird is so beautiful that he became arrogant. A celestial invitation was issued to all animals so they could receive the name of heaven. From heaven. Mot took a nap instead of attending. On their way to the ceremony, many animals ran across his tail feathers as he snoozed, which is how they assumed their unusual shape of two long, paddle-like feathers. To name something is to express its essence. To be given a name from the divine is to be granted clarity to the truth of our being, which facilitates realization of our divine purpose. The oracle speaks of a deepening understanding of the purpose and meaning of your life as an expression of your personal healing journey into your authentic self, and evolving into an ever greater purity and power as you do the same. Mot's unusual tail feathers swing back and forth as if mimicking a movement of a pendulum, reminding us of the importance of honoring the right thing at the right time. Time teaches us many spiritual lessons: patience, impermanence, commitment, sacrifice, loss, and the creative genius of divine timing. When things come together according to the celestial schedule that resolves all things perfectly, in a way that we likely could not have predicted or orchestrated ourselves. Mot teaches the value of time, that we have a limited amount of it, and at certain times, we need to move with the cosmic command to awaken. The potential heroic wonder and blunder of humanity is that we can act as though we will live forever. This idea can inspire tremendous visions and desires to commit to them, but can also foster procrastination, distraction, and casual disregard for this gift. Even if we are blessed to live for more than 100 years, when you consider how long it takes to heal yourself and reclaim your voice, do the work of expression, build a relationship, heal from heartbreak, write a book, or learn who you are, you realize life is short, particularly when you are a dreamer of big visions. To lay claim to a gift is not easy because it asks us to confront our mortality, to recognize that we will not be in this body in this life endlessly. We need to decide how we want to work with the time we have. Such a startling awareness can help to radically shift priorities. It can help us become more present, more grateful, more motivated. Motmot is not easy to find in the wild. The blue keel-billed motmot is considered to be an avid bird watchers to be the most elusive of all motmots in Central America. And some will scour depths of Honduras forest to catch an exhilarating glimpse of the shy winged messenger. Often they are heard before they are seen. One needs to really want to put in the effort to see a motmot. The oracle predicts a realization of treasured desire if you are willing to persist in your search. Know that the stunning result shall render worthwhile the considerable effort you have had to invest in manifesting your path. This oracle also indicates a changed phase in the journey of your life. It may be that you are destined to assume more authority, or it can be as guidance. It could also be that you're learning to be there for yourself. This oracle also indicates protection against outside forces. You have it within you to overcome that which would drain your life force. To accomplish this, articulate the toxic tendencies within yourself or in others that would consume your time, your happiness, your vitality. Okay. Motmot, or toe. And then black egg. So one of the big things that comes forward with both of these cards is the authenticity of truth, as well as I was going to say it and then it left my head. And then also the manifestation of your purpose. But to do that, when you're recognizing your truth, purpose, and speaking truth, and speaking with authenticity, there's an aspect of knowing who you are with this. And I've done a lot of teaching on shadow stuff, and it seems to be the theme of the last couple months is working with the deepest of the shadow. And one of the things that when I was much younger, one of the most valuable experiences I had was realizing that there's a willingness that I have to look inside and recognize, and that not everybody has that because of layers and layers of trauma. And I have layers and layers of trauma, but I look at those layers and layers of trauma and I go, what did I learn from that? Where's the lesson in that for me? How do I become a better person navigating in the world from that? Have I always been right? Absolutely not. I stumble and fall and make mistakes constantly. It's called the human experience. I think I figured something out and then I fuck it up. And that's a real thing. That's part of life. And as you speak from authenticity, you start navigating through the layers of what's authentic to you in that experience and what's the lesson in the path for that, to bring you to a place where you open another doorway. You open another perspective of what could be relevant to you, what is really your experience versus what somebody else is giving to you. So when I was younger, I love to tell this story. When I was younger, my mother, biological mother, she used to say I was a believing child. Um, and it comes from the title of a short story by Zena Henderson called The Believing Child. And if somebody was critical towards me, I would believe that. I would believe if you told me that I was a terrible person for doing something, I would believe that. Because my own lived experience was constantly being told one thing that was in opposition to my lived experience. I was constantly told, especially from the time I was like 4 or 5 years old up. Before that, yes and no, and I don't want to get onto that in this channel, but I remember people telling me things and going, well, you're an adult, I love you and I trust you, so you must be right. That experience must be actually what's happening to me, because what I am experiencing, you're telling me doesn't exist. And when you grow up very spiritual and gifted and you see things that other people don't see and you're aware of the world in ways that other people aren't aware of, like when you can hear the buzzing of electricity and you can see the patterns of vibrations and you can see who people really are in their true form, and the people around you are telling you that's not real, then you start needing other people to tell you what reality is, because your frame of reference is totally different. And it took me a really, really long time to, and I still struggle with it sometimes. My perception of things comes from my authentic voice, and I've had to learn to lean into my authentic voice in a way that I can still move and work in the world. And for a long time, I had two worlds. I had I can pretend to be a regular masked humanoid person experiencing a meat suit experience with everybody else, and I can pretend to function like everybody else. And then I had this spiritual side, the spiritual teacher, this person who leaned into their gifts and did tarot readings and healings and all these other things. But they were two separate worlds. And the two did not mesh. I did not let them mesh. And gradually over time, the world started coming closer and closer and closer together. And it was this beautiful experience I had at working at a medical clinic, that a beautiful individual, she's near and dear to my heart, and Kellen, if you ever watch these, I love you dearly. She helped me understand how to blend the two worlds. And I have another friend who is also near and dear to my heart, Dana. I love you always. And between these two people, there was this continued encouragement to mesh the two, that I could still be a functional human being out in the world, and I could mesh this spiritual part of myself. And that created this authentic voice that was able to emerge without having to compartmentalize, without having to mask my autism, ADHD, so much in the real world, the business world, and also accept the spirituality part of myself, the part that does experience things with high sensitivity, high awareness, and knowingness, this knowingness and connection to who I am as a higher self and who you are in your true form identity. That it's very much like many people who have gifts, and there are many different kinds of gifts, but when you see people for who they are, like who's the entity behind what seems to be perceived in the meat suit, that's a different kind of perception. And sometimes there's a layering, like, oh, there's the true self, and there's other forms that person has had. Toe is the timing, the relevancy of how these things happen in our lives. How do we give ourselves permission to rise into the form of what it is we're supposed to do in our lives, and how is that supposed to navigate in our world? And in the 50 years of my life, basically, that I have been in this world, one of the things that I have always been frustrated with was the timing and the relevance of having a limited amount of time to get things done, and knowing that I do have a long life to live. It's very ironic, like there's always a sense of running out of time, and at the same time, time is not a thing, and there is a leaning into it will always be as it's supposed to be. If I lean into that authentic truth, if I lean into being me as much as possible all of the time, then the universe brings these validating moments always. It's always a touch point. And in the last couple months, one of the things that it actually started to build probably in March or April, or March. March was probably the big building time. There was a pressure. I guess it had actually started like in December, January. I thought, there's something building, but I didn't know what it was. And then there were some things that happened that I went, well, this feels like we're catapulting into a big shift. And I had a huge timeline shift last year, and it was quite monumental. And when big time shifts like that happen for me, it's usually we are aligning right where we need to be for the next big push. It's going to be a big thing, a big hurdle to go over. And the thing that always strikes me with these is the more that they've happened, and the more people around me that are experiencing similar things, the more important and the more cohesion comes together. The community piece, the pulling people together happens. And sometimes not everybody goes with you into that next shift. And that can be very deeply saddening. It can be very disappointing. And yet, for me, there's always this, I can be sad about it because of my own attachments to people and recognizing their lovingness and their wholeness and these beautiful entities for who they are. And I want them to join me. I want everybody to dance together around the circle, right? Like, I want everyone to be in the spiral dancing and enjoying this beautiful experience. But not everybody can do that. Not everybody can face the shadows, because every time you cycle around, you have to go through the shadow and light. It's like the moon going around the earth, where we see the whole cycle. There's a shadow and light, shadow and light, shadow and light, or light and shadow, light and shadow, light and shadow. Depends on which word you want to use first, but they always go in these cycles. And so I had these shifts that were happening tail end of last year, beginning of this year. And one of the things that started to build was this pressure. I've noticed that for me, time, the way other people perceive time and the way I perceive time is very different. And when there's this pressure, have you ever swam to the bottom of the pool and tried to hold on to the bottom of the pool, and you're holding your breath? And at first it's, there's pressure, but it's not that strong. And then the longer you try to hold on, the more and more there's this pressure, and also this discomfort in your body. And you can tell that as a child, I like to experience things. And I remember holding on to the bottom of the pool, probably longer than I should have, but I think I was at almost 2.5 minutes. Because I was testing how long I could hold my breath, because that was the kind of child I was. And at the very end, when you finally realize you cannot hold on any longer, for me, there was this moment of blankness, darkness. I probably blacked out a little bit. And that pressure to the point where you lose sight of what's next is what happens in my real life, where there is something that happens, or a behavior or a trigger that triggers that timing, click, you flipped a switch in your electrical current on your wall and the light goes on or the light goes off, right? And that happened in the last couple months, except it was a very rare occurrence that something happened for me. My authentic truth went, you can't hold on to this pressure anymore. Like, you have to let this go. And it was a huge, like, triggering moment of realizing that the pressure had built so much that this authentic truth piece had to come out, and it was exactly the right time. And I was a little nervous about that, because Thoth is very much the card about leaning into the energies and the divine moment of knowing that you can't avoid it. And for me, divine timing is also very much integrated into my physical body. I have physical body responses, kind of like when you're at the bottom of the pool and you're trying to hold your breath, right? Like that little moment of everything kind of goes black and then, oh, I gotta let go. That's what happens in my life when things have to move, when there's something that's a trigger that has to move the thing forward. There is an uncontrollable physiological response that my body has. Now, if I look at it from a scientific perspective, I have autism and ADHD. I have Ehlers-Danlos. I have a huge physiological trauma response. My body just responds. And when I was younger, I didn't really understand. I didn't really start understanding it until I did a lot of research on autism and ADHD, and recognizing that a lot of my physiological responses are directly connected to my neurodiversity, my neurospiciness, right? And the authentic piece, when I'm not authentic with the world around me and I'm not living in that authentic place, my body will respond. And usually my body's responding. As my mom said, I'm a very believing person. When somebody tells me something that is inauthentic to me, my body tells me, no, what that person is telling you is from their perspective of what's happening in you. But that's not your lived experience. And you have to express what's your lived experience to make sure that the timing is right to move forward, because allowing someone else to tell me what they think my experience is versus what is actually happening interferes with what comes next in this worldview. And so part of today's daily devotion is look at what your actual lived experience is, okay? One of the things that I had a discussion with somebody a couple weeks ago, and they were saying, well, I'd like to know about what gifts I have. Like, am I psychic? Am I clairaudient? Am I clairsentient? And I've leaned away, especially in the last year or so. I've started leaning away from using those words and leaning into the energy sensitive, empathy, earth sense gift paradigm, because all of those gifts, most people have a little bit of what we think those gifts are. And they come from the authentic experience of being energy sensitive, being empathic, having an earth sense booster, or having empathy and energy sensitivity, or energy sensitivity and empathy plus a little bit of earth sense. And those paradigms shift how your gifts work. So I'll use somebody I know as an example. This person is a very gifted empath, and they're a dream walker. And I can dream walk. It just takes a lot of effort. It's not like an automatic thing for me. But this person is an empathic dream walker. So this person finds the people that are the most mentally struggling PTSD people, and they have dreams with them all the time. And it's an amazing healing process. Me, my energy sensitivity, and how it's rooted in my body through my earth sense means dream walking I can do, but I had to learn some techniques to get me there because I don't just go there normally. Empaths who are dream walkers are very good at dream walking, usually because they find the person that's hurting the most and they help them through their dreams. Energy sensitives can dream walk, but there's nothing that draws me to that emotionally because I don't have that empathy connection. It doesn't mean I'm not compassionate and I don't care, right? So how gifts work and how they're rooted in energy sensitivity and empathy matter. So that's a lived experience. That's a lived experience difference. And you can speak from that authenticity better if you understand that layer. And timing is so important. How we live through our lives and following our blueprint. And I say this all the time, the universe will do anything and everything in its power to help you stay on your blueprint. It will send you groups of people. It will send you messages. It will send you all these opportunities of connection and prosperity within connection. And I don't mean like necessarily dollar signs, but I've known my whole life that things wouldn't get easier until I was a little bit older financially. And at the same time, I've struggled financially and I've been homeless and I've had experiences that are really hard. But when I lean into the universe and I lean into my blueprint, things seem to make sense and things work themselves out and I'm kind of taken care of. As long as I don't stress about it. If I worry about money, if I worry about being taken care of, that's usually when it gets worse. Because I'm not leaning into the authentic truth of my blueprint. I'm not leaning into the timing of universe helping me. It doesn't mean I don't fill out job applications or I don't do my work. There's nobody doing it for me. Universe isn't standing over me with a magic wand saying, ding, here you go. But there is a quality of if you're doing your work and you're being authentic to your work, the universe's timing and connection into your blueprint works better. There's less resistance. And trusting your own blueprint that you wrote as an entity before you came into this meat suit is kind of important. And there's always opportunities to unwind karma if you've attracted karma. There's always things in the universe that's telling you this is the right time. This is the thing that's happening. I think one of the things I see the most with people when they're not allowing their blueprint and they're not leaning into timing and they're not leaning into authenticity, which means I think this is a big teller. Black egg is the authenticity card. It's the shadow and light. The black egg appears to be black, but there is a rim of silver. There's always the light around the shadow. And if you can't live in the shadows, you will not understand the light when it comes at you, period. You cannot have one without the other. And authenticity means you have to lean into the shadows of yourself before you can embrace the light truly. And embodying the layers of shadow in all the things that you do keeps you grounded, keeps you real, keeps you available for universe to send you those divine timing moments, those lessons, and gives you a rich, full, experienced life that brings you that place of peace. It doesn't mean it's easy, but it does mean that it's rich and amazing and lovely and just full of light and love. But if you can't experience the shadow, if you can't really lean into that, the light experiences will seem superficial and they will seem less fulfilling. And universe will put many obstacles in your way that make you stop, which force you to look at the shadow. And I'll use this in a real life experience. So I was teaching a shadow class, and I was in college, and there was a group of women and men that I was working with, and I can't remember exactly what the catalyst of what happened, but I was having trouble with Thor, my oldest son. He was having really bad, like, meltdowns, and I didn't understand what was happening, and I was a single mom working full-time, and I was going to college full-time, and I was at my wit's end. And there was a counselor that told me that I was expecting a 2-year-old to be an older child. And I was like, no, I'm not. And she was like, yeah, you are. Like, think about what your expectations of this little baby is. And she was really harsh. It was really harsh. And I remember thinking, God, she was really mean to me. And she'd given me some ideas. So I took a parenting class after that. And well, it wasn't really a parenting class. It was an early childhood education college credit class is what I did, is I took a neuroscience early childhood education class, basically, because I could get college to pay for it, and I learned a lot. But at the time, I was devastated. I was absolutely devastated. I went and talked to my friend, and my friend said, well, that was pretty harsh, but maybe you needed it. And I went, yeah, you're probably right. I am trying to treat this little 2-year-old boy and expect him to do things he's not ready for. And that's not very kind of me. That's not very compassionate of me. And at the same time, I had had a conversation with my boss at the time, and he was trying to explain to me, like, how to answer the telephone at work, which was valid because I was answering it in one way and he needed me to answer it in a different way. And it seemed like I had had all these people tell me all these bad things about myself, like I can't do anything right and everything I do is wrong, and what's wrong with me. And it was a moment in my life where I realized, back to the very beginning of this, right? Like, for a long time, I let other people tell me what I was experiencing, because my own lived experience was not like anybody else's. And I was 24 or 25, I guess, at this time. And I had this, everybody hates me, I can't do anything right. And I realized that somewhere along the way, I had started to find my own authentic voice, but I didn't know how to navigate the timing of how to express that to people. So I started playing with, how do I tell people what my experience is so that they understand, and then they can maybe explain to me what they want better. And that sent me on a journey of 25, 30 years of really, truly trying to figure out how to communicate with people differently, because what I had been doing wasn't working. And that threw me on this amazing journey of timing. How to gauge the timing and still have my authentic voice. Did I fail? 100%. But all those people weren't telling me things that I needed to fix and change because they were being mean. They were bringing up the trauma. They were bringing up these things in my life that needed to be healed to then understand what that timing was and still shine my authentic shadow and light into the world. Did it fix it right away? Absolutely not. But then universe started bringing me more and more of these wonderful experiences that helped me heal in a better way, rather than constantly running up against this wall. So when the universe sends you people, when the universe sends you somebody that tells you something you don't like about yourself, it's an opportunity to heal. It's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to sit within the shadows of your own experience, all the way to the bottom of that icky place that, yeah, I did have those thoughts. Yeah, I am not doing that right. No, I don't like that part of myself, but that's okay, because the timing is perfect for me to learn about it now. It's not because everybody's out to get you. I hope you all have a beautiful day. I hope you have a day filled with shadows and lights and perfect divine timing to learn the lessons that you need. And I will see you in prayer. Blessed be.